Hi, my name is Brenda Heindel. I'm with the Liberty Public Library. I have my mask on here that has awesome foxes and my fox sweater or scarf. So, I have my mask on because we are open for appointments here at Liberty, but all of our branches are open for curbside pickup. But today we're going to be sharing some YA young adult books, and we're going to call this our YA Café because we're hip that way. And I wish I had my cup of coffee right now. We all sort of have some drinks here. So grab a cup of coffee or grab whatever your drink is of choice. And we're going to try and go through and share some of our new YA books so that you can get a sense of what we have. If you don't have a chance to come browse, then you can give us a call or a request online. Y'all want to introduce yourselves?
Yeah, well, I'll go first. I am Miss Samantha. I work in the children's room. I'm the head of children's services, and I'm wearing a mask because I'm in the office, and mine has nifty little caterpillars on it to show that I'm the children's librarian. Emily, you want to take it next?
Sure. I am Emily, and I am also a children's librarian at the Asheboro Public Library, also in our nifty supply office. And my mask has circles on it, nothing really super funky to let you know where I work, but it's funky enough for me. So
I'm Dave. I'm the teen librarian here at Asheboro Public Library. I'm far enough away from everybody that I don't have to wear a mask, but my mask is black because I'm also a ninja.
And I'm Savvy. I work in tech services, but I am at home today. So I've got the dogs with me chilling back there. They might start barking, so I'm going to have my microphone muted most of the time. I don't have a mask because I'm at home, but my sweatshirt has a skull with flowers on it. So, ooh.
Well, cool. Who wants to go first?
I'll go first. The book that I brought to our YA Cafe is called I'll Be the One. It is by Lila Lee, and it is incredibly fun, poppy, body positivity book. This girl named Sky wants to audition to be a part of a K-pop group, and so she does, and she blows everyone away and actually becomes like a hit on this reality TV show. But of course, fame and fortune isn't all that it's set out to be, and she has to learn really to love herself and to just really, I don't know, just enjoy what she's doing in spite of all the glitz and glamour around her. So I really, really enjoyed this one. I love it. You should really pick it up.
can I get my hands on that when you're done with it?
Absolutely. K-pop.
Awesome. All right, well, I guess I can go next. So what I am bringing is Patron Saints of Nothing by Randy Rivet. And this book is kind of a more serious and emotional book. Our main character is named Jay, and he's in his senior year of high school. He's kind of just like riding the senioritis out, biding his time until he goes off to the University of Michigan. And so it's just kind of like a chill, normal life. But then one day he gets some news that kind of rocks his world. He finds out that his cousin Jin has been murdered. And he's been murdered due to the strict war on drugs in the Philippines. And this was something he never even knew about, despite being Filipino himself. So what he decides is, he realizes he's feeling really guilty for not having spoken to his cousin in a while. So he decides that he's going to go to the Philippines and he's going to solve this murder. He's going to find out what really happened to his cousin. So he convinces his parents to let him hop on a plane during spring break instead of going to Florida, or in this year's spring break, going to the living room. He decides that he's going to go to the Philippines. He convinces his parents to let him go under the guise of visiting his family there. But while he's there, what he really plans to do is get to the bottom of his cousin's death. Will he find out? Will the truth be what he expects or what he wants? You got to read to find out.
All right, well, I brought one of the good ones, and I've really been looking forward to this one coming out. It's by Maika Molite and Maritza Molite, and their sisters. I heard an interview with the sisters a little over a month or so ago. This is their second book. So their first book was Dear Haiti, Love Elaine, and we also have a copy of that. but I just really looked forward to this one coming out because it talks about the dynamic of family. I don't want to give a whole lot away, but it does relate to the loss of one of the sisters who is actually dies in police custody. So it does have some threads similar to The Hate You Give. So it is having some comparisons in that when you look at reviews. As a historian, I also really find it fascinating because the sisters also talked about how they connected with the books that were made for people of color and even different sexual orientations back in the early 20th century to be able to know where there were safe places to go and travel. And so they drew some inspirations from some of those books. And so this book it's just really moving. I've started reading it. I like the narrative, and I'm really looking forward to finishing it and highly recommend it.
Well, I'll go next if that's okay. I brought Ready Player 2, Ernest Cline. The initial book, Ready Player 1, was really, really well done. Great book of nostalgia, lots of popular references to movies and music from the 1970s and 80s. Fun story, giant video game, virtual reality, everything that anybody could want. And so when we found out that the second book was coming, I was super excited. By the way, the audiobooks are both narrated by Will Wheaton of Star Trek and Big Bang Theory fame. So entertaining listens as well as a good read. I have to say that as much as I was looking forward to this book, it gets a meh from me. It was well written and the story was good and entertaining. A little bit slower, not as much going on, not as much attention or suspense in this. It was really more a story of the aftermath of what happens when, and I don't mean to give away the plot of the first book if you haven't read it, but what happens when you get everything that you want. It doesn't necessarily solve all of your problems. And I felt like that was that was the highlight of the book in terms of that. There's some dealing with relationships, some questions of what makes us people. Are our avatars people online? Are the facades that we put up on social media who we really are? And what are we hiding behind, and what are we hiding when we erect those fences? And I thought that was a very positive part of the story overall. I will say that this book is probably not necessarily considered YA, although we're marketing it as YA. It's really what we would call emergent adult. So your later high school students, 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th graders, first couple of years of community college or regular college, are going to find this right along their their accessibility and comprehension abilities. But I think it's just fascinating how much pressure we put on technology to represent us, and how much that has changed our culture, and how for the last 30 or so years we've really begun to manipulate reality to fit our own opinion of ourselves and put that out there instead of trying to be true to ourselves. And that was the core of this book. And so I highly recommend it. It's a good read. The ending is a little but overall I think it manages to hit some important topics and be fun. But there's not nearly enough Huey Lewis in the news references, in my opinion.
All right, so I'll go. I have Fable by Adrian Young, and this book came out September 2020. The second one is coming out March 16th, I think. But this is basically, I've read the first chapter. I opened it up to just look at it today and started reading the first page and then just couldn't stop. So it's basically Pirates of the Caribbean if we got Keira Knightley's story. It's awesome. It's about a 17-year-old girl who gets dumped on this island of marauders and thieves and all that kind of stuff. And it's just, it sounds awesome so far. So I'm really excited to actually get to read this one. It's already got a couple of holds on it at the library. So if you want to check it out, I'd go ahead and put my name on the list if I were you. I know my name's on there already because it sounds pretty great. So
I have to think all of our books, and especially this one, like the cover just caught me initially too, like the artwork and Fable. And I know I've seen the cover of the second one coming out after Fable, like the images, and this is definitely one of those where it's like I would pick it up even if I hadn't heard the interview with the sisters, like because I just I do pick up books by their covers. So this would be one that I would certainly pick up because the artwork and the images are just gorgeous. I think that's a really good judge for a book sometimes is the artwork too.
I actually looked up the second one, which is called Namesake, and on Amazon it like pulled up both of them right next to each other, and the other one, the cover is the other side of her face and it's just lined up perfectly.
Nice.
And I'm like, can I get a poster of that for my room? Like I'm about to buy my own copies just so they're so pretty. That's exactly what caught my eye is the cover of this book, and it's awesome.
I was just going to say that, a couple of years ago, there was a bit of a throwdown online because they put a picture of a 17-year-old girl in Western clothing on the cover of what's the Canadian girl, redheaded girl with Anne of Green Gables.
Anne of Green Gables.
Oh, Anne of
Yeah,
Green Gables.
but it was like a romance model on the cover, like a real photograph of a romance model on the cover of these, and it was in these books again, like a redo or something, and it was appalling, and people all over the internet were losing their minds, and I agree. And sometimes the cover says it all, but you can't judge a book by its cover. But I love to find books that are intriguing on the cover art and see if the story matches. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. So.
Well, thank you all for participating in the YA Cafe. I hope we can at least share a few things that people might find really interesting. And we all have new books coming in all the time.
Right.
And I know, Emily, the last time when we did the PB&J, we talked a little bit about how to find out about new books. Do you want to you really talked a lot about that really well. Do you want to say anything about how people can find out about new books?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm kind of scared
As
to
I put
talk
you on
now
the
because
spot.
I think I'm like lagging a little bit, so I'm scared of talking over people. But yeah, we have a great browsable catalog on our website. If you go to our Randolph County Public Library website, at the top right corner, you'll see a search bar, and you can go ahead and put in the name of a genre, the name of a topic, or a certain thing you're interested in. For example, I was just looking at some true crime books. So anything that you're interested in, you can just pop that in the search bar. It'll bring up a bazillion results. Hopefully, if not, we have a request form on our website where you can request certain books. But it should bring up like a bazillion results. That's across all of our library branches. And if we don't have one at the branch that you are getting your books from, you can go ahead, pop it on hold using your library card or your student ID number, your student lunch number, and we will have it sent to the library that you want to pick it up from. There are a bunch of different filters on the side as well. So if you're like, well, I don't want to read about some like little kid volcanoes, I want to read about like actual volcano, like real tough, like hard hitting science stuff about volcanoes, pop onto the side of the thing and you can go ahead and select like the age range. If you want like a fiction, like apocalyptic stuff, you can go to like volcanoes, fiction, or you can go ahead and select nonfiction if you want, if you can read the nonfiction. And there's just, we understand totally missing browsing, but you can absolutely do that from our website, from the app on your phone as well. We have our own app where you can really easy browse and place holds, and even use an option where you can click to say that you're at the branch that you're picking your holds up, and we will have them ready for you. If you just click that button right when you get there, we'll go ahead and bring them out in a few minutes. We're really doing our best to make sure that you still have access to all of those resources that you want to get your hands on.
We'll see you in 4 weeks for another YA Cafe.
Yeah, man.
Have your coffee ready, your coffee or your tea.
Next time, bring your mugs, guys. Bring your
I'll
mugs.
bring my empty mug.
Yes, me too.